Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Aiden, once again behind the scenes for today's live show. We'll take you through all the latest around the Dallas Cowboys, trade rumors, injury news, going to the practice squad, all the changes that have been there since several of you have asked for that. And we'll preview Jets, Cowboys. Who you got on Sunday? C for the Cowboys, J for the Jets. I do that like every time. I don't know why I do that. I'm just very stupid of me, frankly. C or J. Get your votes in for me in the comment section of today's show. 97% voting in favor of the Cowboys. So the vibes are back up high again. That's what that tells us. Get those votes in, C or J. Brett, David, a.k.a. Cam, Luis, Robert, Cowboy fan, DJ's dad, Chris, Steven, Jumper Game, Andrew say C. Marcia says tie. So I assume that's a Jeremy burner. Michael says C. Edward says C. Laron, Daniel, Brandon, Kenya, all typing in their C's. It's a narrow advantage in favor of the Cowboys from a spread perspective. I think it's mostly that the Jets are bad. I don't think they're a very good football team. Not necessarily an easy win because you got a bad defense, but I think it is a game we should expect the Cowboys to win. So we have our first J. It's Debaster. I think that's how that's pronounced on that front. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Cowboy Carter says C. King Xbox, Danelle, Texas Wolf Graves, Dave, Derek, Ruben, all typing in their C's. This is the Super Chat menu for today's show. Any Super Chat equals a shout-out. $5, you're into our raffle. Going to plan on signed Jake Ferguson jersey because I think he's going to have a big game, so we're going to kind of speak it into existence. $10 is 3 raffle entries, $50 for the shot, $100 for a beer bong. That is the Super Chat menu on today's show. We will talk trades on today's video as well, some of which are feasible, some of which I feel the need to call stuff out when it gets stupid. What should the Cowboys be at this year's NFL trade deadline? B for they should buy, S for they should sell, H for they should hold, and not maybe do anything. You have time to make a decision on that front. You have a little under a month before you got to start making final moves on that. But because I'm in the hold side for now, but if I do anything, I think I'm more inclined to buy. I don't really have that many sell pieces that I think teams would be interested in, because if they start playing well, then you're in the buy category. So B, S, or H, let me know in the comment section of today's show. Mostly B's coming through, which is kind of how I would assume that the Cowboys would operate. B, S, or H, let me know in the comment section of today's show. $5 from Matt Temple says, I have a bad feeling Fields going to look like a franchise quarterback with our defense. If I'm Justin Fields and the Jets and Jets fans, I'm thinking Justin Fields will probably have one of his best days ever. That's what all the other quarterbacks have had so far against this Dallas Cowboys defense. I am playing Justin Fields in a guillotine league because, like, why wouldn't I? He's actually a very good fantasy quarterback because he runs around a lot. Like, yeah, I said this about the Packers game, like, Jordan Love struggled against the Browns. Get right game coming. Throws 300 yards. It's pretty clear, I think, that this is a high expectation game for Fields. That's why your offense has to kind of carry you. Until we see something good from the defense, the offense has to carry you. Roman, $2, says trade a first, a third, and Sam Williams for Will Anderson Jr. And the Houston Texans say, F you no. Like, honestly, Will Anderson's price tag in a trade, which the Texans don't want to trade him because they can afford to pay him, and they're not going to mess around like the Cowboys did with Micah, is the Micah trade package. So you can start trading a first and a second and another, or a first, and another really good player, and maybe Houston listens to you, but Houston's just going to keep their superstar young edge. Like, the Texans are not entertaining that at all. From Jumper Gang, can we make the playoffs? Can, yes. Will, let's see how things play out. I do think it is a possibility that they can make. I think that should be the goal of, do they make the playoffs? Can they rally and kind of figure out the defense? Nothing's going to matter as great as your offense is played until, like, you get better play out of your defense. Like, it's just going to end up being a I forget the name of the Greek god who was rolling the stone up the hill and every day would reset on him. Or not the Greek god, but like that guy. It's that right now. That's what it is. I did this joke before and I forget what it is. Anyway, it's just, you can make it, but you have to get, I think, significantly better on defense and your offense to keep the pace it's on, or slightly a little bit worse. So will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Will the Dallas Cowboys end up making a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Jerry likes to do trades. They have the assets. Up a first, down a third this year is pretty impactful there. So will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Brendan says 0. Steven says 1. 12K says I pray. Or 1 pray, I guess. Brandon says 0. There's no fight. Andrew, Daniel typing in their ends. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Will the Cowboys end up making a trade? Got some more super chats to get to here as well. Ecuador man AOG says buy. You need a whole new defense. How can you buy? This is, I think, the crux of the issue with this Dallas Cowboys team. If it's not in there by now, it probably means that there's a new link. Let's go to, Ecuador man AOG. You need a whole new D. How can you buy it? Look, that's the issue. I would like, you need a dude at edge. You need at least a starting linebacker, and assuming Overshown gets back healthy soon. Your secondary does not feel particularly good at any level for the most part. Like, part of this is your defense naturally gets better over the next few weeks. That's not a guarantee, frankly. I think that's why, in general, I don't think this is a buy-at-all-costs team. If I can get a good player for a day 3 pick, that's never going to be a bad idea. But I don't know if there's a reasonable trade that fixes your defense like that. You do need multiple things right now. Object Pawar, do you feel at times the offense becomes conservative and checks down? Will the offense be aggressive this game with injuries to 9 and 88? Every offense at some level does have checkdowns and does kind of dial things back. I would hope that the defense being as bad as it is kind of forces them to stay aggressive and not be so willing to punt and be cowardly. But there are times, you saw it in overtime. I think they, overtime play call, 3rd down, they run mesh. I like mesh in the red zone. It's normally a good idea because a lot of times you'll see some man or match principles in that. The Packers happen to have the perfect call against that, where they had the deep over top coverage in the red zone. Nobody gets open. You have to throw it away. I would have run the ball on 3rd down and then set myself up to go for it on 4th down. That was where I didn't love the strategy on that front. So, Object Poir, thank you very much. Brett Stevens, $5. Why do you think Flutes is having a tough time adjusting? Look, this is not unique to Matt Eberflus, but it is pretty common across the NFL. Every single coach tells you, we're going to adjust the scheme to fit our personnel. Who here thinks the Cowboys are adjusting their scheme to fit the personnel or the lack thereof? Matt Eberflus wants to run zone. He wants to keep an umbrella, so to speak, over the offense and take away the explosive plays. Well, that's not what a lot of these Cowboys have done previously, and they're struggling with it. So I think part of this is like misjudging some of the personnel, not maximizing them, and then kind of being stuck in your own ways. Like, example you did with Mozzie Smith, who hasn't been a liability at all. Like, he's been a guy, which is fine, but it's constant from coaching staffs of, we're going to force feed what we want to do, what I want to do to my personnel, even if it doesn't work. That's why you always hear scheme fit issues. It's frustrating to me. Max Finnegan, a $5 super chat into our raffle. How much of the defensive issues you put on 3 coaches in 3 seasons? I do think this is a huge factor. I don't know if it's like the number one factor, if I can even identify number one factor. But I do think in general, going from Dan Quinn's defense to Mike Zimmer's defense to Matt Eberflus's defense, I do think all of those things kind of lead to just some disjointedness, some confusion. It is a lot on players to learn all new schemes and all new terminologies, and what fits this guy, this player didn't always fit the next guy and everything else. I do think the constant shuffling of defensive coordinators, which isn't unique, but is is a bad thing. Look, it's since 2020, and we are now entering the 2025 season, the Cowboys have gone through 4 defensive coordinators. It was Mike Nolan in 2020, Dan Quinn for 3 years, Mike Zimmer, Matt Eberflus. That is a lot, and they're all different schemes. Now, some of them were good, some of them were not good, but I do think the constant shuffling has, in part, also led to, you drafted this guy for Dan Quinn, like now he doesn't fit Matt Eberflus, and that's a coaching issue, but it also it just leads to that consistent disjointedness with personnel. Abjapawar, what about wide receiver separation, O-line protection? The separation isn't as good. It's still a lot of tight stuff, but they're open enough this year. And they're often doing some more downfield stuff to get open, which I think matters. I think Dak is 24 of 24 of his last throws. The match last year hitting wide open guys was the NFL Pro stat. That's wide open, you should hit him. But look, part of the way Dak plays is going to invite limited separation. He's going to take the seam shot to Jake Ferguson. That's always going to be a tight window throw. You're okay with it. O-line protection has been in the good enough category. Dak's getting the ball just in time a lot. If you had a lesser quarterback, I think those two things that are not elite right now would maybe be more obviously on display. Now, if you're trying to get the Cowboys some good luck and maybe stay healthy for the rest of the season, show it by liking today's video. Free, simple, and easy to do. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Coming up on today's show, we'll run through some Cowboys trade rumors, ideas, targets, etc. Practice squad breakdown. Many of you have asked for this. Every time I do a practice squad update, there's always a bunch of comments of well, what does it look like now? So we will break it down for you in depth. A mailbag. 2 ways to get in on the show. You can use #Cowboys, skip the line altogether via Super Chat, and we will do another Cowboys versus Jets preview. All coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. Rounding up, we have a month to go until the 2025 NFL trade deadline. Dallas is 1-2-1 with an offense ready to win, a defense clearly not. So will they make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Now, yesterday, I'll call it, Cowboys Twitter was all abuzz with reports and claims that the Cowboys were trying to trade for Raiders edge rusher Maxx Crosby. There was one that claimed that Maxx Crosby had demanded a trade. I know exactly where this originated from. I will not be outing them. It was literally fake news. In fact, it was intentional fake news. They did it as a joke to just see what would happen. This stuff annoys me, though, because people... In the year 2025, society has a tough time identifying what is real and what is fake, because sometimes the things we see we want to be real, so we choose to. Don't get your hopes up here. This is not happening. At least not this right now. At least not in season. You could maybe revisit in a year or so, depending on how things play out. The Raiders just paid Maxx Crosby. He is the quintessential Raider right now with the way he goes about his business. Everyone wants Maxx Crosby because he's awesome. So why would the Raiders, who are only a half game behind you, by the way, in terms of record, trade him? It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make sense. Madden, yes. Real life, no. And you're also probably giving up what you got back for Micah pretty much, and it's too much for the realisticness. Now, if the Cowboys make a trade, we will have you covered with a video, and we will call out the nonsense as we have to. I'd rather not do it, but... And it was very popular on social media. So hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Let's move to someone who might actually be available. That is Trey Hendrickson. Many Cowboys fans, I see you guys in the comments all the time, media outlets suggesting it as an idea. And I get it. There is some logic behind this one that maybe doesn't exist in the Maxx Crosby side of things. Hendrickson's contract breaks down as follows. $25.17 is his current cap hit. The Bengals save $16 million. That is the figure the Cowboys would owe. I will make note, all the contract stuff we discuss on today's show is prorated. So it's not quite 16. It's really about $1 million per game. A little bit, obviously, more, but whatever. You know the prorated figure. So let's just call it 10 is what you would end up owing Trey Hendrickson if you were to trade for him. That's doable for a team with tons of cap space. Hendrickson stuck on a bad Bengals defense. Hey, that sounds familiar. Remains one of the better pass rushers in football. I do think it is a valid question how much longer he can continue. That he does turn 31 years old this year, but then again, TJ Watt is in a similar age bracket there. The sacks have gone down a little bit, but the pressure rate remains high. This after back-to-back 17-plus sack seasons in his previous 2 years. I think if you wanted to fix your pass rush, I do think Hendrickson, who has been super productive on a bad defense in the past, does do that. And the Bengals are rapidly falling apart. But what is their actual asking price for Trey Hendrickson? If they let him leave in free agency, they'll get a third-round comp pick, we would assume. I think that's a reasonable assumption on the Trey Hendrickson front. Well, you don't have a third-round pick to trade. Does a second and a player move the needle for the Bengals? Very well might. They were asking for more before the season, but that's when they thought they were going to be a Super Bowl contender. Joe Burrow's hurt, maybe not. I think that's reasonable. Cowboys can't draft in the second round on defense anyway. Does that mean they should be trading away a second-round pick? And are they going to pay Hendrickson the $35 whatever million he wants per year? If the answer is no to either of those, I don't think this defense overall, even with Hendrickson, is good enough to justify that price tag as a rental. So what draft pick would you give up for Trey Hendrickson? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I'm not moving to 1 to 2, depending on what your plan is. Can make a bit more sense. I have no 3. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's talk Dolphins edge rusher targets. This one has been a popular social media, like Bleacher Report mentioning both guys as trade candidates, I think for good reason. Bradley Chubb and Jaelen Phillips. Chop Robinson, I think, is the long-term young edge rusher Miami is committed to. There are some contractual stuff we'll have to discuss here. The raw stat sheet for Jaelen Phillips. Let's begin here. No sacks. That doesn't look very good. Has gotten pressures, though, which oftentimes indicates, hey, this guy's going to get home soon. That the sacks are going to come. He's got a higher pressure rate than Hendrickson does here. He's got a 16.5 is really, really good figures. But he's been banged up a lot the past 2 years. 12 games played in total. The 1 sack last year. Still searching for a sack this season. 6.5 sacks. Looked like he was on the breakout path in 2023 and then got hurt and hasn't fully stayed healthy. Contractual issues here as well. $13.25 million for the totality of the 2025 campaign. That's the prorated figure. Call it $8 or $9 million. Also going to be a free agent. So what are your long-term plans? What's the contractual cost there? I'm not so sure. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. We'll come back to Bradley Chubb in a second. But you and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You can pick them all only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other players directly on the app. Copy those lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, partner, someone whose picks you like, do it all in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. This is my Cowboys-Jets Prize Picks slate as cooked up by producer Aiden. Brandon Aubrey, more than a field goal and a half. The alien. Jake Ferguson, this 24.5 is just so juicy to me because I think he's going to have a solid game. Love the more than there. Justin Fields, more than 40.5 yards on the ground because it's the Cowboys and run defense against QBs. It's always bad. Go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Let's go to Bradley Chubb, who is putting up the sack numbers. The pressure rate does indicate some underlying concerns there of, is he the same guy he was at his peak with injury concerns and injury issues? He did not play at all in 2024, was healthier in 2023. Go figure, has 11 sacks. Like that certainly is a good sign. Unlike Jaelen Phillips, the contract is a little bit more convoluted. So right now, Chubb is owed $12.33 million on the 2025 cap. The Dolphins would save the prorated figure of $1.2 million. It is the vet minimum. That is all the Cowboys would owe this year. So he's highly affordable. The Dolphins only save $7.5 million next year because they just redid his contract. So the Dolphins do not save very much money-wise by trading away Bradley Chubb. Now, he's on the books next year for $20.23 million, and then 2027 is $23.26. No guaranteed money owed in 2026, 2027. So either he plays well, semi-affordable figure in 2026. Maybe you figure out what the long-term stuff is. It's a decent amount of cash, though. Or he's a rental for super cheap, and you cut him. Now, Sports Illustrated pitched a conditional 5th-round pick for Bradley Chubb. I don't know if that's actually enough for the Dolphins to sign off on a trade, because if they start selling guys like Bradley Chubb, I think that regime is getting fired. But maybe that decision gets made above their heads. I would do that trade. To me, that the worst case outcome there is he's a rental edge for a year to help out my pass rush, and it only cost me a day 3 pick. I don't know if the Dolphins do that. That seems like it's a little bit too team-friendly for the Cowboys side of it, but if that is the cost, and big old asterisks on it, that one does intrigue me. So of the 2 Dolphins edges, pick one to trade for. BC for Bradley Chubb, JP for Jaelen Phillips. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Now, FanSided and some others have pushed the Cowboys trading for Greg Newsome, the second, the young corner, for now at least, out of Northwestern. And I get the general interest in the cornerback room because, issues here. You're going to get Kalen Carson back at some point soon. I think at some point Savone Revel returns. I just don't have a date for when on that front. But Deron Bland has been banged up and had a great game against the Eagles, and then, not so good against the Packers. Diggs was good week 1, week 4, and a disaster class in week 2 and 3. Elam has been, I think, relative to trade day expectations, okay. Relative to training camp expectations, not very good. Reddy Stewart's fine as a nickel. I like Greg Newsome. I think he's a good player. Hasn't been as good at times this year. A little bit high on some of the completion rate stuff. But the Browns also ask a lot of their corners, like they'll put them in man coverage scenarios, which are you going to do it with Matt Eberflus? That's the question on the Newsome front. Has missed time pretty much every year of his career, too. Like, this is not somebody who is out there every single game. He misses 2, 3, 4, 5 games, it feels like, every single season. And like all these other players we're discussing, at least some of them, contractual issues here. Going to be a free agent, $13.38 million. I think if you're trading for someone like Greg Newsome, you probably view them as more than a one-year player. I don't know if the Cowboys would trade for Greg Newsome, pay him all that cash, and then extend him, even though I think you're going to move on from Trayvon Diggs. So I would wonder if the Cowboys, because they've invested in Savone Revel, they think he can be a piece long-term, I wonder if they're going to try to play the waiting game at corner and maybe focus on edge instead. So at the trade deadline this year, what should the Cowboys be? B for buyers, S for sellers, H for holders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Get those B, S's, or H's in. Let me know in the comments of today's show. I'll give some shout-outs here. Danny, Dallas Cowboys, let's go, says B. Let's see. Mr. Shoddy says bye. H is from Brendan and Chris Romero. Daniel says B. S from TJ. TG collects. Did it again. B and S. Ooh, buy and sell. Interesting idea. Laron says B. Tyler Fricky says B. Big B from Ricky the Man Boy. Wait, let's win now from Mr. Shoddy. So keep the votes coming. B for buy, S for sell, H for hold. Michael Lee says Tyree from the hospital was here we go. Yeah, I think that's just the generic here we go. It's not like Dak invented the phrase. I'll go in general here on Tyreek Hill. I think that the injury, frankly, was like the worst case scenario for the Miami Dolphins. As the Cowboys never going to trade for him. I don't want to trade for him. He's too much for me to deal with. The way that the Dolphins books had set up was they were going to be able to release Tyreek Hill after this year, probably save a bunch of money. The problem is, I believe he has some injury guarantees for 2026. I need to double check that right now. I thought I saw that online. So he's got $11 million that's injury guaranteed in salary for 2026. So you have to pay that a little bit there. I think. Well, no, maybe not. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that was false information. Either way, he was going to get cut in the first place, I think. I don't think they're going to bring him back at the current salary. Now it kind of complicates where he's going to go and when he's going to be back as well. All right, the super chat menu on today's show. Any super chat, like the one Michael just did, gets you a shout out. $5 equals a raffle entry into our signed Jake Ferguson giveaway this upcoming Sunday against the Jets. $10 equals 3 raffle entries. $50 for a shotty, and $100 for the beer bong. That is the super chat menu. Some Calvin says, too much to deal with. What do you mean? For Tyreek Hill, all of the off-the-field stuff for starters, that's easily Googleable. And then, the constant complaining, demanding a trade from your team at the end of the season, then saying it was okay. Just we're too close to speed running the Antonio Brown timeline. That's my concern. Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. A bunch of you have asked, kind of every time we do a practice squad transaction, a loss, an addition, whatever, what the actual practice squad looks like. So, as we get through the first 4 weeks of the season, I figured now is a good time to take a look at that and see what it actually breaks down. Before we do that, new-ish feature here on YouTube. It's called Hype. Help us out. This is a free, simple, easy way for us to continue to grow the channel. Smash the Hype button on YouTube. This is on mobile only. When you're in the comments, you'll kind of see a little swipe feature. Swipe it to the right and then look at the Hype option and click it. Help us out. Help us continue to grow here on the Cowboys Report. We'll go player by player for the Cowboys practice squad. Will Grier, the quarterback, is first up. This, again, is how it's been for a while now for Grier. He's the third quarterback on the Cowboys roster. There was a chance he was going to be on the active roster. I wonder if in the end the nice third game from Joe Milton helped Grier stick around on the practice squad only. I think he helps out a lot with some of the homework stuff, essentially, for the quarterback room. Malik Davis is the running back right now on the Cowboys practice squad. He had the sign the day before the game that actually ran pretty well and managed to get his way back onto the practice squad. He was also on the Cowboys practice squad last year. He played briefly several years ago, but has very much carved out a role as a back end of the 90-man roster piece in the backfield. There are currently quite a few wide receivers on the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. First up is Jaelen Cropper, who has been around this team for a long time now. He actually was a game day call-up. You get 3 game day call-ups, by the way, if you are a practice squad player each season. Cropper had his first one last week. Would expect him to have another one this week and might even get some actual playing time beyond special teams. He might have to get some catches or maybe do return stuff, given how banged up the Cowboys are there. Jalen Brooks, who was on the Cowboys active roster last year, is still on the practice squad. He's potentially in line for some call-ups in the not-too-distant future either. 12 catches, 177 yards. Doesn't offer a ton as an actual wide receiver, but does offer quite a bit as a special teamer. Everyone's favorite practice squad receiver is Trayshawn Holden, even though he's, I think, pretty clearly behind Cropper and Brooks internally for the Dallas Cowboys. This, I think, is a developmental player. I don't think he's ready to help right now as an actual every down wide receiver. That's why he was buried on the depth chart in the preseason. The flashes at camp were certainly intriguing. The consistency, though, isn't necessarily there at this time. But if the Cowboys keep losing guys to injuries, he might get a crack at wide receiver at some point soon. The newest re-addition is Paris Campbell, who, funnily enough, was with the Cowboys earlier this offseason, then got put on IR and released, and now is back as a member of the Cowboys organization. He was waived injured after getting banged up. I was surprised the Cowboys did that and put him back on the practice squad earlier this week, and then the KaVontae Turpin injury news came out and went, oh, okay, That's probably a factor in why here. That's because he's the super breaking case of emergency replacement for Turpin, although the timing isn't working out too well right now. Of the 4 wide receivers on the practice squad, JC for Jalen Cropper, JB for Jalen Brooks, TH for Trayshawn Holden, PC for Paris Campbell. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Couple tight ends. Princeton Fant, who had kind of, I think, pushed for one of those last spots at tight end, but Brevin Spanford held on to it there. Fant actually played a decent amount last year on special teams. A little undersized at 6'2", 235, but does a better job as a blocker than I think you would expect given his frame. Rivaldo Fairweather had a pretty good preseason relative to expectations out of Auburn as an undrafted free agent. Wasn't surprised he cleared waivers, but I was glad he made it back to the Cowboys practice squad. Jaelen Christian, the offensive tackle, was a little surprised that he was the pick for the Cowboys on the practice squad, but right now he's the only offensive tackle who is available to help because of all the injuries. The Cowboys went super deep on the offensive line coming out of the 53-man roster cuts. Then they had to make adjustments because they were so banged up, they had to add somebody. That was Wesley French, who joined 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. The offensive lineman. This was part of the iconic French fries duo. Do you remember that, Producer Aiden? With the Colts, it was Wesley French at center and Will Fries at guard. So you had the screenshots of them on the field of French fries. It was incredible. He knows Clayton Adams from their time together in Indianapolis. So that was just extra break in case of emergency depth on the interior, which we're getting a little bit close to having to need. Now, you can get this Cowboys hoodie on sale for a limited time only, $36 off. Chatsports.com/DAL hoodie sale. That's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie sale from our friends over at Fanatics. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie sale. Over to the defensive side, Ernest Brown IV is there at defensive tackle. There was that hour-ish window where the report was that Ernest Brown had made the Cowboys roster over Perion Winfrey, and we all lost our mind, and we're like, what are you doing? That makes no sense. And then they're like, oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So Brown hanging out there on the practice squad as he has, dating back to last year, too. Adedeo Odeleye, the International Player Pathway Program piece for the Dallas Cowboys. He spent last year on the Ravens practice squad. This is pure development. They've got plenty of bodies at edge right now. Don't think we'll see him at all this year. Isaiah Land, one of the ones who got away, right? Remember, it was Isaiah Land and Julius Wood in back-to-back years we were all pretty mad about. But, Isaiah Land is now on your practice squad. If you needed to try him, you could do that. They brought him back from the Colts after the Colts cut him. He'd actually showed some things in previous years in Indy. I don't know if he's going to get a chance to actually play anything, but I think he's at least one of the more notable names on your practice squad right now. We have a few more players to get through, but who is your favorite player right now on the Cowboys practice squad? You get the extra player, 17 in total, because of the International Player Pathway Program, but let me know in the comments section of today's show. Linebacker Justin Barron is next up here. I don't know if he's ever going to get a shot to be a real linebacker for this team. I think his value comes as a potential special teamer, where he's light, 6'3" and change and 225 is rather skinny for a linebacker, but he played a ton of special teams at Syracuse. I wouldn't be surprised if next year he's kind of looking to push that very last linebacker spot. Robert Rochelle is one of the practice squad corners currently on the team. He played a little bit over the course of his career. He's been kind of a journeyman veteran corner. Special teams value. That's a very common trend for all these guys. You're either developmental or special teams. That's what most of these guys are, and the occasional ramping up the veteran guy. So we'll see about Rochelle. I don't want to play him in a real game. Corey Ballantyne, as the Cowboys just hoarding former Packers corners for some kind of silly reasons, did play some this year. Very briefly had one tackle, but he's kind of bounced around the NFL, been a journeyman. It's probably someone the Cowboys coaching staff or front office liked back when he came out of the draft. And then I do wonder if in the not-too-distant future, we actually see this final player on the list, and that is Elijah Clark, the safety. I would not be shocked if he got a chance to showcase what he is able to do at some point soon. Because you're so banged up in the secondary, because you're down some safeties, Clark was, along with Justin Barron, the two highest paid undrafted free agents. I think there is a chance, see how the numbers game plays out, that Clark gets the game day call-up this week for the Cowboys because they're now down to 3 safeties. Thought he was pretty solid in the preseason. Certainly one to monitor. We got you covered here on the Cowboys Report with all kinds of Cowboys news and rumors and updates and injuries and practice squad and trades and everything else in between. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. A couple ways to get in on the show. Number 1 is skip the line altogether via Super Chat. Number 2 is simply use #Cowboys to get on the show. We can definitely get Robert, William, and any other Super Chats who want in the mailbag. I think we can go to Samuel's Super Chat and throw that one in before the mailbag. I think is probably what makes the most sense there, Aiden. So yeah, go ahead and do Samuel now. So get your questions in, #Cowboys, skip the line all together via Super Chat. Samuel's having fun. Scale of 1 to 10, how pretty do you think I am? So everyone type in 10 in the comments. How about that? Everyone show Samuel some love and spam 10 in the comments section of today's show. This is the Super Chat menu. Any super, don't commit isms, I feel like I need to specify right now, is a shout out. $5 is a raffle entry. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries. $50 is the shoddy. $100 is a beer bong. Get your questions in via #Cowboys, via Super Chat. There are some super thanks we'll get to here to begin this upcoming Cowboys mailbag. A $5 super thanks to get this mailbag underway from William Cook. He says, I wonder with Pickens if it comes down to the number of years as it was with Micah. The years are always going to be a thing in contracts. The Cowboys love longer deals. They've gotten better about moving on beyond that. I think personal issues got in the way with Jerry and Micah in the end, which is stupid, but whatever. We're past it. I bet his agent wants 4 years. Cowboys are a bit more okay to do that as of late. So, in general, I want to remind everybody, if you don't agree on the years, you don't agree on the money. You have to agree on both because the longer you go, the higher the average per year is going to be. Otherwise, you're just doing a cheating backloading deal, and the player never sees it. Agents have gotten too wise to that style. Now, if you want into our weekly raffle entries, all you got to do is send in a $5 super thanks, and you are entered to signed Jake Ferguson jersey this week. William Cook, a $2 super chat. Overshown is who Jerry means by reinforcements. He can return, but how long will it take him to get football ready? Every year, without fail, week 5, Jerry Jones says we got reinforcements coming because they put guys on IR like every other franchise does. It doesn't mean anything. He meant Mingo. He meant Carson. He kind of really meant Overshown in the end. I don't know the answer on Overshown. I think you clearly need him at linebacker. I also think, kind of like what you're alluding to there, William, what version of Overshown do we get is a pretty big unknown. Maxx Crosby, a $2 super thanks. So the Bears' defense was a joke under Eberflus until they traded for Montez Sweat. Sweat's good, but far from lead edge rusher. Once you're up there, actually pretty good. Are there any reasonable under-the-radar edges that could be their Sweat? I think they should look to the Dolphins for Phillips and maybe one of their linebackers if they continue to be bad. I would probably agree. I think Bradley Phillips or Jaelen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, 2 names to monitor. Jordan Brooks would be the linebacker I might have interest in for Miami. My issue is I think Sweat is actually a very good edge. I think he's better than anything you have right now. I think Hendrickson fits that mold. He's not under the radar. But Sweat was very good. Really good, frankly. And would help them. They also had some good corners and better linebacker play. And I think skill talent-wise, I think the Bears had a little bit more underlying pieces that were better too, which is a concern. Will the Cowboys make a trade for a pass rusher? Y for yes, N for no. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Y for yes, N for no. Will the Cowboys end up making a trade for a pass rusher? From Stephen Goltz, why do you think the Packers didn't go for the touchdown in the last play instead of the field goal? Also, ties belong around the neck. It's a good line. Because a tie is better than a loss in the end. I think they mishandled the final couple minutes. Like, they were a little bit too conservative. They were honestly too scared to let Dak Prescott get the football back. Maybe they were right to be scared of that, by the way. But that was a huge factor, that they didn't want to let Dak have a bunch of time and get the football back. So I think that absolutely was probably the main factor, and they kind of ran out of time in the end. $5 from Robert Simmons. What linebacker can we trade for? We need linebacker help. We did put this out, did a full video on free agents and trade targets. Trade targets I had mentioned, is Demario Davis available as rental? Maybe. Is Jordan Brooks available? Maybe. Logan Wilson from the Bengals? But the options, realistically, are not home run pieces because it's October and you don't normally see elite-level players available via the trade market. It's not the NBA where the player movement is constant. It's the NFL. It's a bit more muted. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, so you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Maybe you want more than on Justin Fields' passing yards, rush yards, TDs, because the Cowboys' defense is bad. I wouldn't blame you. And you can pick them all in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app as well in the new feed tab, and you can follow their lineups in one click. This is my Prize Picks slate for Cowboys-Jets. I got Brandon Aubrey more than field goals. Jake Ferguson more than receiving yards. Justin Fields more than 48.5 rushing yards because it's the Cowboys defense. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. $10 from William Cook. Once Winfrey and Turner are ready to return, who gets moved from the roster, if anyone? I don't know if we're going to see Peyton Turner back. I kind of feel like he's just going to hang out unless they have a bunch of injuries. Maybe you see Perion Winfrey back, but right now your lowest ranking defensive tackle is Jay Toia. So the invented injury there, possible. Wouldn't be the first time the Cowboys have done something like that. I think both guys, because of the other pieces ahead of them, the Cowboys are going to take more of a slow approach. Tony Williams, I want to go back-to-back on his 2 super chats here because I think he's raised some very good points here. Why doesn't Eberflus change anything? It's annoying. Might as well be aggressive if you're going to give up 30 points. I'd rather blitz every play. Might as well. It's not like they get stops anyway. So I think from an actual non-just flippant, I'll just blitz. If you're getting gashed playing conservative stuff, you actually should go be aggressive. If you can't stop explosives from happening, then you need to generate explosives on defense. I'm okay if you're giving up 28 points a game if you're forcing 2 or 3 turnovers. That totally changes the complexion. It changes your points per play, points per drive allowed. But if you're going to give up 30 points a game and not generate anything explosively, then what's the point in the end? So, Tony, I actually very much agree. I think he thinks his way still works, and at some point you have to kind of accept that. It's not. JB, any chance Guyton ends up back at right tackle? You wanted us to pick 2 stars. I did say pick a starter to the bench. Nathan Thomas, Terrence Steele, Tyler Guyton. If Steele is not one of them, is that the best play? It's a great question. I think it's a different answer short-term, long-term. I think long-term, unless the Cowboys get a new, higher investment than Guyton, you're probably going to keep him at left tackle. I do think he's been better this year. By no means perfect. This was a developmental tackle. There are going to be ups and downs, but you've won games and played well on offense with him out there. I think the issues he has, it's technique stuff. He's ducking his head. He's getting out of position. Those are the exact same at left tackle as they are at right tackle. It's not like it's footwork. It's upper body technique. That's the issue. That's not going to change going from left to right tackle. Now, for now, if you think Nathan Thomas is a better option at right tackle, okay. Not sure the Cowboys should be at that point. I think it is possible. I think a lot of it comes down to what do you do. If you spend a top 20 pick on a tackle and he's a right tackle, then you just keep him there. If he's left tackle, maybe you have that conversation. I think it is feasible. I don't think in season, though, it's going to happen. So grade Tyler Guyton. I want honest answers here so far this year. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Chris Romero, is Jaden Blue going to play? If he does, what do you think his stat line will end up being? I think, A, he will play. Miles Sanders, filming this on our Thursday live show, has not yet returned to practice. Red flag, red flag. I would wager that Miles Sanders, or that Jaden Blue, probably gets the Miles Sanders stat line. Maybe that's kind of similar to the Bears game, or it's similar to the Eagles game, where it's 5 to 8 touches, 5 to 7 touches, somewhere in that ballpark, like it kind of was the first 2 weeks of the season. The Sanders one, they actually put him in late and ran the ball out, so maybe not the Bears game. But Giants and the Eagles, 5 carries, 4 carries, 2 catches, 1 catch. Maybe it's a little bit higher on the catch side, but I think 5 to 7 touches, I think, is a realistic outcome for Jaden Blue. Daniel M., if the Cowboys get both Hendrickson and Newsome in trades, does this defense go from bad to average with the offense being elite? I think average is a potential goal there. I think it's feasible. I worry if Overstone comes back healthy and good, I think you're at least average there. My concern is the trade cost involved is probably a lot for those two players. And if you don't keep them, then A, you've kind of committed to that being your defense. You're kind of locking in a bunch of your money to Hendrickson and Newsome long-term, and you're still kind of just average, and I don't have the draft capital to be even better. So those are all kind of the pros and cons you have to weigh if you're the Dallas Cowboys. And that's why, in general, you don't see as much big-time action in the NFL trade-wise at the deadline. If you want to be as a part, I should say, of our Cowboys mailbags, hit the sub button. We do them live. You can super thanks to get in if you can't watch live as well. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out right now. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Hit that sub button right now. Ace 1900, we have a Matt Eberflus problem. If the Jets put up 40 on us, it's time to go. Does anyone disagree? I kind of don't. Matt Eberflus has to be better than what he has been. Like the defense for the Cowboys in general has been bad. It has not been a good enough defense overall. They've been straight up terrible. They're the worst third down defense in the NFL. You have to be better than that. If you can't stop the Jets, if you can't stop the Panthers, I don't know how you're realistically going to be better as the season plays out. From Kringle McKingleberry, that's what the Key and Peele skit name, is that right? It's a trap game versus the Jets. I remember the last time the Cowboys had a road game there. I do too. It was not fun. I don't think this can be a trap game. You're 1-2-1. You're below 500. It's not a trap game if the Cowboys lose. It's we're a bad team if the Cowboys lose. Packers-Browns, trap game, right? Cowboys Saints, like a trap game last year, they may have just been bad. But this is you've got one win this year. I don't think it's a trap game at all, because I don't think you can be in a trap game. You just might not be good enough. That's the concern, especially on defense. Give me your score predictions between the Cowboys and the Jets. Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show with what you think the score will end up being. Roman says trade a first and a third for Sam Williams for Will Anderson Jr. I'm going to screenshot this and send it to Jeremy. I think he's got Yom Kippur today, or something like that. I don't know. I think he's out, but I know what he's going to say. Hell no. The Will Anderson trade package honestly is the Micah Parsons trade package. So a first and a third and a guy that, frankly, I don't think is playing well, period. I don't think Sam Williams has played well. to the point that like I think he should be the least amount of snaps being given to on your edge rushing group right now. I think it's been that poor. The Texans say hell no. Max Finnegan, hey Tom, how much of the defensive issues would you put on 3 different coaches in 3 seasons? I think part of this is like those are some of your personnel issues. And you got Trayvon Diggs, borderline complaining about not playing enough man versus zone, although play well, buddy, come on. Like, let's be serious here. Most of the quote was fine, actually. I think it kind of got overblown a little bit. But, like, you've got not only just 3 coaches in 3 seasons, you can go back to 2020 and you've had Mike Nolan in there too. So you got your front office drafting for this defensive coordinator. Oh, he's gone. We're drafting this guy. Oh, he's gone. And that leads to some disjointedness with your personnel and your scheme. But it is up, like, so maybe you're, if you want to stick with the Bill Parcells analogy, maybe your ingredients that are being given to you from your front office aren't what you'd like to have if you are the defensive coordinator and the chef. But you're the chef. Make it work. Like, you have functional ingredients. Shoot, man, you have enough to make me something that I can put over rice. Like, it's not that hard, actually. You need to get something better. So there's a lot of blame to go around, but, man, my DC has to adjust better as well. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Any Super Chat is a shout-out. $5, you are into our raffle entry. $10 gets you 3. $50 is a shot. $100 is a beer bong. That is the Super Chat menu on today's show. We got Thursday Night Football, by the way, back in the rotation here. 4 for the Niners, R for the Rams. Who do you have coming? 4 or R? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Talk about a banged-up Niners team, man. They are decimated. Yeah. Puka's off to an incredible year. I think the Rams win. I think the Niners just have too many injuries. I don't know if you can get more than touches on Christian McCaffrey on Prize Picks, but like more than touches for Christian McCaffrey. He is going to get force-fed tonight, like a ridiculous amount. A couple rapid-fire ones I want to shout out. Someone said, when will Phil Maffa make his debut? I honestly don't think he will. From the day they put him on IR, I'm like, this is a stash. Like that. This is an IR stash. To the point like that's what their plan is. Now, if things change, injuries happen, we can adjust. But I think that they're just going to injury stash him this year. And then someone else said go trade for Roquan Smith. The Ravens aren't doing that. The money does not make a lot of sense for Baltimore. They're still trying to win games right now. Also, he's hurt. So like, I do think it's a little bit funny of like, go trade for that one-loss team's good player. Or one-win team. We got one win. Now, I don't think Roquan's getting dealt. If they've got other veterans, if they bottom out next 3 weeks, you could revisit, but I don't think Roquan is realistically available right now. Danny, $1 super chat. Thank you very much, Danny. I appreciate that. Cheers to you, my friend. Shout-outs to you, my man. Let's get set up for the final segment of today's show. We'll go into one more preview between the Cowboys and the Jets. Week 5 is here between the Cowboys and the Jets. Cowboys, a 2.5-point favorite in this one, despite injuries that we will discuss on the road in New Jersey with the improperly named New York Jets. We're going to do what we've done each week this year. The most comments on today's show gets a free raffle entry. You can just spam me if you want to. You can spam C for the Cowboys. You can spam whatever you want to spam. But get in the comments section right now. Most comments on today's show will get a free raffle entry into our signed Jake Ferguson jersey giveaway. Cowboys injuries to watch here. Tyler Booker, CeeDee Lamb, don't anticipate them being ready to go this week. Probably not next week, maybe beyond that. We will monitor Tyler Guyton and Tyler Smith. Of note, we are filming this on our Thursday afternoon live show. By Sunday morning, if not Saturday afternoon, we'll know who's available, who's not available. It's concussion for Guyton, makes him an unknown. Tyler Smith, I know he said he wants to play, thinks he can play. We'll see. Could just be kind of a maintenance thing throughout the week of practice, but it's an unknown. Don't think you'll have Miles Sanders. don't think you'll have KaVontae Turpin. You will not have Malik Hooker. I think you'll have Kenneth Murray. Not that having him and not having him actually makes that big of a difference. Reverse jinx, go. Jets injuries to watch. They've already put Braylon Allen on IR, ending his season, or not season, but at least missing 4 weeks. Mike Carter Jr., the nickel corner, also in concussion protocol. That one is one to monitor. Jermaine Johnson battling an ankle injury. That's a big one, too, because they could use him as a pass rusher option. Kenneth Nwangwu has a hamstring, so they added Khalil Herbert to the active roster as well. Mason Taylor should be good, but is battling an ankle injury as well. Let's talk matchups to watch. We mentioned how banged up that Cowboys offensive line is. Yes, this is the number one matchup for me. The Cowboys' entire offensive line, as banged up as it is, at most, you're going to still be down 2 starters, or best case, I should say. Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass. I thought Bass actually played pretty well at right guard. Brock Hoffman has been serviceable center. Haven't loved his play, frankly. Terrence Steele in there at right tackle hasn't been the guy I was hoping for as a pass protector, but he has been good as a run blocker. We'll see about the Tylers if they can't go. Nathan Thomas in there at left tackle, and then Hakeem Adeniji or Trevor Keegan in there at left guard. That's concerning when you have one of the best defensive tackles in football opposite you. Quinn Williams is that guy. He is awesome. I love his play. He's, I think, a top 5 young DT in football. Harrison Phillips helped clog the lane as a nose guard. Cowboys legend Jates Fele is there as well. Kidding. Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, if he's healthy, the edge group. I do worry. Your quarterback has kind of helped hidden some of your pass pro issues. It's a good Jets front, even though they haven't actually been very good about getting pressures this year. In fact, the Jets have the second longest average get-off time in the offensive line, over a second before they're firing. It's kind of weird. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys beating the Jets on Sunday? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 2 matchup to watch. We kind of mentioned this on our earlier preview. How do you contain the Justin Fields mobility stuff? The pass rush, and we'll spend a bit more time on one guy in particular, has been a pretty big disappointment. Justin Fields is a dual threat all the way through. And he's actually done a decent job of being efficient. Just the 1 turnover, 5 touchdowns this year. He is dynamic on the ground with his legs. I tweeted this out as a joke on Monday Night Football. Spin zone. The Cowboys' inability to get pressures are actually a good thing because it means that Justin Fields can't do his chaos creation nonsense. Keep your contain. Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, I thought really struggled in that area in week 1 against the Eagles. You have to make Fields beat you as a regular drop back pocket passer and maybe get something resembling pressure. Next stat is wild, by the way. It's a little bit unfair for Warren Sharp, which is not his real name, but it's fun. Justin Fields is 0-25 as a starter when the opposing team scores at least 21 points. Now, all but one of those games, it was actually 24 or more. So it's a little bit deceptive, but that's kind of crazy. That's why your offense has to show up and do its job as well. Matchup the 3rd to watch. Garrett Wilson against the Cowboys corners. I am curious who the Jets, or who the Cowboys should say, actually put against Garrett Wilson. Or is this just going to be, we're in man coverage all day, or we're in zone coverage all day long, and Garrett Wilson gets lined up wherever he wants to line up, and there's zero shadowing, even though the rest of the Jets supporting cast at wide receiver and skill position guys isn't actually that great. And Garrett Wilson leads the team with 311 yards. That is well over 3x any other wide receiver. Breece Hall and Mason Taylor have over 100. Tyler Johnson is next up with 63. When it's a pass as a wide receiver, it's friggin' going to Garrett Wilson. That is where the football is going. The Jets' other wide receivers this year, 4 catches, 3 catches, 2 catches, 3 catches. And they are not even at 100, barely at 100 yards combined. The ball's going to go to Garrett Wilson. Everybody on the field knows it, or it's to Breece Hall, or it's to Mason Taylor. Shit, why don't you just double team / bracket Garrett Wilson? Or even in zone, bracket him. Whether it's Blandon Diggs, Blandon Elam, have the safeties, have Reddy Stewart do it. Garrett Wilson's awesome. He's a really good football player. But, I think that the Cowboys' strategy should be, okay, third down, it's going to go to Garrett Wilson. How do we stop him? If Tyler Johnson, if Alan Lazard, if Arian Smith beat you, it is what it is. Don't let Garrett Wilson cook you. You can get this Cowboys hoodie for $36 off at chatsports.com/DAL hoodie sale. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie sale. A bunch of other hoodies on sale if you want to go peek it as well, but that link will take you to this one. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. The Cowboys are probably going to have a similar scenario. Like we just mentioned, Garrett Wilson. Oh, it's George Pickens. What I do know about this for the Jets game plan, they're going to put Sauce Gardner on George Pickens every snap pretty much. For the season, Sauce has 8 catches allowed on 16 targets. These are all per PFF, by the way. 113 yards, 1 TD. I think it's against Darren Waller in particular. 3 pass breakups. Against DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, and Keon Coleman, who we mostly shadowed in those first 3 games, 4 catches for 40 yards combined. So he is going to line up against George Pickens. You will try to give probably George Pickens some shots against Sauce Gardner. This is a game where, you're really going to miss CeeDee Lamb against a, frankly, not great Jets. Brandon Stevens is not that good. Carter's banged up. I need Madden Tolbert. Jaelen Tolbert is going to get looks. He's going to get opportunities. He has to make plays. I'm not going to have KaVontae Turpin. This might be the Ryan Flanoy game. Kind of was last week, actually. It was actually pretty solid. Those guys have to step up. You're not going to see him against Sauce Gardner very much. And when Sauce Gardner isn't against Pickens, feel like that ball's going his way. But if you want to pick on other guys, it means you have to lean on Flanoy and Tolbert. Matchup number 5. How about play action from the Cowboys and Dak Prescott against the Jets defense? This is an area I think the Cowboys have a pretty sizable advantage. After being, frankly, mid at best in the last couple of years under Mike McCarthy with play action, the Cowboys have fixed it. Shout out to Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams too, by the way. Dak Prescott leads, these are all per NFL pros, next-gen stats, leads the NFL in play action completions. He's 3rd in attempts. He's 2nd in completion percentage. 2nd in completion percentage over expectation. He's 4th in yards, only 8th in yards per attempt, 9th in EPA per play, just the 1 touchdown, 0 INTs, that's good. 38.3% pressure rate is about league average in terms of what's being allowed. But Dak has been one of the more successful play-action quarterbacks. The success rate's been pretty high. The Jets have had issues here. Only 34 plays faced, that's actually tied for 12th. But they're 23rd in yards per game, 23rd in yards per play, tied for 30th in touchdowns allowed, 28th in expected points added, which is just overall health. Are you moving the chains? Are you getting first downs, having big plays? And they are 29th in pressure rate. They're kind of slow to react when they see the run. I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Javonte Williams, heavy dose of play action against the New York Jets. Now, we'll be live for this game. I think 11:30 a.m. Eastern start time is the plan. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's talk players to watch here. Number 5 is Jaelen Blue. Fully expect him to be out there in this one, taking on the Miles Sanders workload. We'll see if it changes during the week, but all expectations are Blue's going to finally be active as the Cowboys wear those Arctic white throwback, or not throwbacks, but alternates. 5 to 7 touches, 8 touches, 9 touches, somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe return duty for Jaelen Blue. And I think a heavy dose of Javonte Williams, too, against the Jets defense that hasn't been great against stopping the run. Number 4. All the damn linebackers have been terrible this year. Nobody has impressed me. There's been the occasional good play. I thought Kenneth Murray was actually, after a bad early play against the Jets, Giants, thought he stepped up and was better after that, but he's banged up right now. Jack Sanborn hasn't been very good. Leafau was most known for the stupid penalty and the missed tackle. Damone Clark got scratched. Shamar James is just not ready yet. So the linebackers have to play well. They have to. Otherwise, the defense is going to continue to be a nightmare. You can't be bad along your spine and have success. That goes for the safeties as well. Number 3, Jake Ferguson, the tight end. You guys watch Darren Waller, the rapper, have a career game against the Jets? I think the Cowboys are going to throw the ball to Jake Ferguson a lot. He was better after the catch last week and kind of week before. And that matters because that's what has been holding back his game, his yards per catch. With injuries to the Jets, with Quincy Williams out, they're starting a day 3 pick at linebacker. The safeties are okay. I think Jake Ferguson is primed for a big game from the Dallas Cowboys. Or I should say for the Dallas Cowboys. So predictions. Who scores the first touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys against the Jets? Last week it was Dak on the quarterback draw. Had some fun answers on this one throughout the season. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Number 2, and this is kind of a call-out, Sam Williams, the defensive end. I have been really disappointed by his play. The Cowboys might extend him thing, I don't think has been particularly apt. 9 tackles on the season, a TFL, a pass breakup. The pressure rate is going the wrong direction. It's 10.2% for the season. It's just 6.3% the last couple of games. And I think some of those busts on defense where they're not keeping contained against the run or quarterback scrambles, they've been on Sam Williams. Like, he has not been impactful so far this year. Nobody really has, outside of James Houston and the occasional Donovan as a Raku flash against the pass rush. But I think Sam Williams has been one of your more disappointing players so far. Number 1, Wanye Thomas. Gonna get the start at safety. A lot of us finally get our wish. It better go the way that we're all hoping it goes. He also, by the way, funnily enough, gets to go up against his brother. Azareye'h Thomas is a Jets corner, rookie draft pick out of Florida State. So it's a family affair between the Cowboys and the Jets. I need Wanye Thomas because I thought your safeties were better last week, but Wanye Thomas played a bunch in that game, which maybe bodes well for you. Hopefully, things go well for Wanye Thomas and the Cowboys defense. Who we got? C for the Cowboys, J for the Jets. Let me know in the comments section of today's show, C or J. 95% are voting in favor of the Cowboys, which we're all going to be melting down, crashing out if they don't win this game. C or J? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. $10 super chat before we go from William Cook. The sad thing is that with this offense, the Cowboys should smoke the Jets. With the defense, there will always be doubt. Yeah, that's what sucks. It's not fun. It's annoying. Like you need your A game from your offense to have a chance to win. That's a bad thing because there will be games your offense does not have its A game. And the defense is so bad, a B offensive performance can quickly snowball into a C or a D because the game script is so bad in your favor and the defense gets to have their way against you. That's why your offense has to play so perfectly, because it is a team sport after all. Spot on there, my friend. Big picture goal for the Cowboys-Jets game, how about 230,000 subs? We can get there, I think. Let's see. It's not quite a national televised game. It's a 1 p.m. game, too. So hit that sub button, youtube.com/Cowboys TV. Free Cowboys videos each and every single day here on the channel, averaging 2 per day. We will have the watch party for you on Sunday morning. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out.